All right, so now we're ready to add score. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create an object that is going to display our score, and then we're going to learn about a global variable that is in GameMaker 2, which is going to be called score. And that score variable allows us to pass the information about adding score into different parts of the application, and then we're going to turn it into a display so that we can see it. So we're going to create an object first. We're going to go ahead and create, and we're just going to call this one object and then underscore, and let's just call it player score. All right, and then we're just going to add that. Now we're not assigning a sprite to it because we're actually going to have it draw. We're not going to actually have to do it manually. So you'll see how this kind of works as we go. So no sprite, we're going to leave everything else the same. Won't really matter. First thing we need to do is we need to create this. So we're going to have it create. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add an event that is called draw. And we're going to create this draw event. And this draw event is where we're going to have the command to draw our score. It's where it's going to live. And then this create event, we're going to place the set score for the initial score of the game. So this will kind of make sense. So upon create, let's start with that. Let's go ahead and place our initial score. We're going to use a command called set score. It looks like a little trophy, and it's found about right about here, right here in instance variables. And so we're going to set the score to 0. So as the game starts, the score is 0, and we won't have any kind of a score. If you wanted to change that, you could. This is important because if we add more levels to the game, you're going to do the same thing, but this score is going to equal a score from a different instance. So we're going to start to learn how variables are being passed from section of the application to another section of the application. Let's go ahead and go into draw though. And here we're going to say draw instance score. And then we can make a caption. So it'll say the word score with a colon, and then it'll give us the actual score, whatever that is. The other thing is we need to make it placed on our grid. So I'm just doing 64 pixels in by 64 pixels. This is going to be kind of an interface thing. You're going to want to place your score wherever it looks good, but that's kind of where I'm going to do it. The last step is we got to go here to the room, and we need to add that object onto the screen. And notice it'll just be represented by a little question mark. That's because it doesn't really know what it is, but it is an object and we have to have it there to make it work. All right. So now our object is actually all set up. It's ready to work. We have another task though, and that's going to be based on the enemy. So we want this to score whenever the enemy is destroyed. So we're going to go to the enemy object, and we're going to into the enemy bullet. And when that bullet was just made collision, with the enemy ship, we have a destroy instance where it destroys the enemy ship. And it plays our audio, and then it creates a new instance, which is the explosion effect, all of those kinds of things. It's all right there. We're going to do a set score, and we're going to add it to this. And we're going to say add 100. And here's the key thing. If we say set score 100, when this is destroyed, it'll just make the score 100. And every time a ship is destroyed, it would reset the score to 100. We don't want to do that. So if you click relative, it actually adds to the score, whatever it is. So it's kind of doing the function of if you were to hand code this, where you would say maybe the variable is score, and you'd say score equals score plus 100. That would be kind of what it's doing. It's pulling the original value of the score and then adding 100. That's what the relative button is doing. And you can see right here, it's kind of handy. It says add 100 to score. If I unclick that, it just says set score to 100. Pretty cool how it's actually done that. Now, this is where you can get really tripped up. This you would think is going to work. However, this set score lives in this object, and we need to pass it into this object here. And so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to click this little thing to say apply to a different instance. And instead of applying the score to this one, we're going to apply it to the object player score. And now it'll be highlighted in purple. And now we're going to be able to send 100 additional points to this player score for display. Let's go ahead and see if we did it right. All All right, we got our score, so that's a good sign. Hopefully we can blow up some ships without dying. And there it goes. We're getting additional points as we go. And this game is starting to get kind of tricky. There we go, 300 points. Am I going to die? Oh, just barely. I made it. There we go, and we've got a score of 300. Now, this same process can also be done, by the way, with some other things. If you scroll down there to global variables, I think it was what it was called. Let me see here. Instance variables, excuse me. You've got set score, but you also have set lives and set health. So those are two other versions of kind of global things that you can kind of put, because most games have those, and they would be applied in almost the exact same way. So you can just modify them a little bit to have them work like this.